Like it's a mariachi with some rock and some electric guitars.
I can't.
I'm just
Next
trying
subject.
That's a phrase I never would have thought would be heard on anything to do with musing, but I'm glad it was at some point. Welcome to Music Musing. Every once in a while, my brother George and I would have these conversations about music. Music is our passion, and it's a huge part of our lives, and we decided to share those conversations with you. So if you love music, sit back and enjoy this podcast. Welcome back to Music Musing. Got my brother on the line.
How we doing?
Good. Today we have a special episode. It's not our episode. It's actually Brent's episode.
Yeah. We're live.
Live on Crowdcast.
With a face for radio.
Maybe you.
Yes. Is that a rim shot? There it is.
Thought we were going to get some distorted guitar or something.
only after one more
drink. So we were going to start with intros, but now we're not because we're not getting a really good intro. So
yeah, stumbled out of the blocks.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to do, right? You guys correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm totally psyched about this when we decided to put it together. Maybe we should give folks a little background there, because some people that know you may not know me, and some people that are here that know me may not know you, and all that kind of good stuff. So I'll just kind of kick that off here and just say Music Musings live on this Crowdcast channel is part of what I do on a daily basis, doing training, learning, and development stuff that Craig does. That's how Craig and I know each other. I grew up around a boatload of music, and we discovered early on when we first met that we both had an interest in music, and then he decided he's going to do a podcast with his brother, and they've been doing it for how long now?
A little over a year.
Yeah, a little over a year. February 3rd, I think, was the first episode, and we're up to episode 30 or 39, somewhere in that area. But we only do it every 2 weeks, sometimes every third week, depending on how quickly we can record. But it is Music Musing with no S.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that's fine. It's if you want to go to the website, it's actually musicmusing.libsyn.com. We're on Twitter, musicmusing_. What's the email address? I'll let my brother talk because he's
musicmusingfeedback@gmail.com. They've got an Instagram account, and you can find us on Facebook. You can find us pretty much Twitter sphere, everywhere people are found. You can find us.
And so George and I have been talking about music probably for the last 15, 20 years. Kind of regularly, we'd call and get on the phone and talk with each other and kind of just bring up a subject. I think the whole idea that kicked this podcast idea off was I called him one day and said, "Is Boston the best rock band ever?" And
normal answer is yes.
Yeah, because he's a big Boston fan. But it was just that and go. And I think we ended up, I had a long commute at that point in time. We ended up talking for an hour and a half or something on just that.
Yep.
And it kind of got stuck to my head and said, hey, let's just share this. I mean, podcasting is getting kind of easy to do. Everybody does it. It's kind of out there. So I said, hey, you want to try this out? And we went through some of the earlier episodes are a little rough. We tried it, and I tried it during my commute and stuff and in the car, and it got a little rough quality, but then we cleaned it up and, oh yeah, Mike's already jumping in. Look at that. So
he's right. By the way, it is more than a feeling. So. Me and him are good already.
So that's me. I'm actually in DC area. I've moved up here we lived in Florida together. George and I lived in Florida together. He still lives in Florida. I'm in the DC area. But yeah, we'll talk about the music and then kind of throw it into the podcast.
Sometimes there's research. Most of the time there's not. It's just a wealth of
our
knowledge.
Brains.
Well, and that's why things like this, people like you, people that are chatting right now are chiming in. I mean, that's what it's about. That's what we hope for. That was the only goal, is to get people interested and to let people talk about it, and to argue or to fight or to just learn some new things, hear some new music, get some input and talk about it. It was always good for fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
About podcasts, I think, is I like the fact that anybody can do it and that it's so raw and it's authentic. And when I, hear just other people talking about the things that I like to talk about and I can listen to that, it's just like, it's like being there when you're on the treadmill and you're bored or something, or you're out doing yard work or just doing whatever, and you can just listen and feel like you're hanging out with your friends because they're talking about stuff that you're interested in too. And, it's really, really cool.
He's right. Your level is just a tad bit low. Oh, yeah.
I know how to crank it up.
Whoa. Yeah, there you go. You are.
Now we've got producers even trying to, other producers.
Producer Brent. I've been dying to say that. So that's kind of us. We do it because we want to, like George said, we want to communicate. We want you guys to email us. We want to talk to us, reach out to us, and, tell us what your input is. And that's our interest.
Yeah, my take on doing this whole live was that every time I'd listen to your podcast, I'd also be yelling into my headphones going, no, you missed this song, or no, you missed this album, or what about this song, or, and I just was like, oh, I want to be able to talk to these guys about this. So live streaming, perfect situation for us to all get in a room, and now everybody that's listened to the podcast can have your say.
You stand around the barrel and shoot the fish in it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so tons of fun. So let's kick this off. We've only got 50 minutes-ish. We can go over an hour if we want to, but I'm super psyched to get started. We had 5 topics we were going to talk about, and they are the top 5 episodes.
Sort of.
Right? Sort of?
Sort of. So the number 1 episode, we actually did an interview with Pete Maloney, the drummer from Dishwalla back in the 90s, an amazing episode. It's still our best downloaded episode because he tells some great stories and just a great episode, but it's everyone past that. So it's like, 2 through 6.
Perfectly fine. All the topic based.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yes.
Non-guest list.
Yeah.
And I tried my best to go back and listen to all of the topics that we're going to talk about today, but I didn't quite get through all of them. But we're going to talk about intros. That's the first one. So every awesome, epic song of all time has some sort of wicked, interesting intro, a hook, or something. Ready, set, go.
George is going to say Boston. Got it. We're done.
That's what kind of started because of the opening lyrics to More Than a Feeling, because Craig rags me all the time about that's the best song ever written. He can argue it all he wants, but
right. I think Long Time has actually got a better intro.
Well, see, you can argue all you want, but you're wrong. It's the lyrics.
But we're talking about intros.
No, I know.
And I think that was one of the problems we had with the episode itself, was determining what was an intro. Is it just speaking? Is it just drums? Is it just guitar? Is that an actual intro? I thought it was a song by itself. Mike Simmons is wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. So what is an intro? I mean, is it just the sign off, or is it an extended? How long is the opening to long play? Or long time? Is it like 6 minutes?
Well, I mean, you could that probably falls into the same, because foreplay and long time are technically 2 different songs, so it's probably the same as Eruption and You Really Got Me, if you're going technically. So Mike is half right in that deal. So we'll give him 50% on that deal. But
I like to think of a good intro like it's like a good first paragraph of a book, or the first scene of a movie, right? It's that piece that kind of draws you in. That sets the mood, if you will, or even sets a totally different mood and rolls into something else.
I was going to say, so is it part of the song, or is it the intro, or not intro,
because if
preview?
The intro sucks, you don't want to listen to the rest of the song. When Whole Lot of Rosie starts, you know what song it is, and you want to listen to the whole thing. Am I right?
Well, what about TNT? I mean, who's going to listen past the Oys?
Apparently AC/DC fans. But you know what I mean? I was using that as a reference point.
Yeah.
like Sweet Child of Mine, as nauseating as I am about that song, when the guitar work starts, you know what song it is. It's instantly recognizable, and it's a great intro.
Just want to say, I want to mark the time that 8:12. George mentioned Guns N' Roses before I did.
Love it or hate it, which I'm on to the latter part.
No. Just all you said was Guns N' Roses. That's all I needed.
Well,
so, but is it that signature intro that makes the song popular? Like you said,
100% honest, I don't like that song either. But I will listen to the intro. I will listen.
50 seconds. Craig said, "I don't like Guns N' Roses." So this
song,
this is derailed. This is bizarre world right now.
But that song, honestly, I will leave the intro on because I actually like the intro, and I will cut the song off. I will actually do that, and that's the kind of the opposite of that feeling.
I don't listen to it.
So let's do a quick topics or highlights from your episode of the intro song. Do you guys remember picking on a couple of songs besides the Guns N' Roses and the Boston that were like great intros that you talked about?
So I'll jump in first, brother. Hold on a second. So the intros version was actually the one that was done in the car. So it was kind of our test version anyways. It's kind of rough quality, but I think at that point in time, we were more about talking about the things we liked than it was discussing at the point, whether it was ones we like versus ones we don't.
That was literally the first episode, right?
Yeah, it was. That was literally the first episode to introduce people.
Scroll down to the bottom to get it on Spotify.
Yeah. But I think at that point we weren't really taking too many away. We were looking at ones that we liked and that we cared about, and that ones that stuck out. Not necessarily even ones we like, but ones that stuck out. Molly just mentioned Dust in the Wind, which I love the intro to that song, but again, it's just a song that's I'm not a huge fan of. It's okay.
But I think the podcast itself was based on like intros that were different from like the actual
song.
Like,
right.
They were they were almost
like Foreplay and
right. And Eruption. They were they were an intro to a song that you knew you were waiting for, almost not a different song, but where they changed. Like I think we brought up what was that one? Is it Modest Mouse? The
one that changes tempo after the intro.
Yeah, I think that's more or less what we were going for, and that was more of a, the intro is so much different than the actual songs, more than just really great intros when we started that podcast, when we started our podcast.
Yeah, One by Metallica is a really, I don't even know if we touched on that one. That still feels more like the song to me though. The intro to One kind of feels still kind of like the song. I mean, I know it's an intro, but that song's a big crescendo anyways. I mean, it's going to, we're going to have to let Mike in on video at some point. Can we hold it to the last section?
No, I think it's funny just watching it beg on the thing. I don't even know the guy. I'm sorry.
Just watch Mike squirm in the chat.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it gives him the same feeling of a podcast. He can't yell at us right now. He can hear us, but he can't yell at us.
Oh, it's a visual reference to a podcast.
But I think George is right. I think we went with that episode because we wanted to kind of point out the differences between an intro and the songs that separate the intro from the song makes it an intro. That some songs have kind of a lead in more than it is an intro. I think that's what we were talking about mostly on that. But did you actually listen to the whole episode, the whole intros episode, Brent?
I did most of it. I was kind of in and out. It was playing in the background. I got most of it, but
did we miss something? Is the big question.
Oh yes, you did.
Okay, so here's your chance.
Love Is All Around You by Tesla. See, that's a great one too.
Oh, that is a good one. Yes, nice call, Mo.
Is that the name of that song though?
Everybody draws a blank. But I think
was a Tesla fan back in the day. But
me too.
Yeah. So So I know one of the things that you mentioned in one of the descriptions of that episode, I thought it was interesting because you did say it doesn't matter if it's a really long one or if it's a really short one, and that kind of cleared it up for me because I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna make a list of ones, and I just I think for the really short ones, I think there's a boatload of songs out there where a lot of us, if you heard 2 seconds of a song, you would know exactly what it was, kind of like this.
Gotta love Judas Priest.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so you hear that song, and it's not like there aren't other songs that start with that particular drum rhythm, but there's something about how it sounds. There's something about the speed. There's something about it.
Well, it goes, as much as I hate to go back to it, it's like the Guns N' Roses song. It is.
Yeah,
It's short.
Recognizable.
Yeah.
Just like when Highway to Hell starts, it's 3 chords. Everybody knows that song. Everybody knows what the song is instantaneously.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sweet Home Alabama's another one, Mike. That's a good one. I mean, everybody knows the opening chords. So
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw in the one that you're going to hate because there has to be something bad in here. We can't all agree. And so I like theatrics in my rock and roll. And so I am a child of the 80s hair bands. And so I was a big fan. And I love Bon Jovi's intro to Lay Your Hands on Me.
Oh, that's a pretty good one. Yeah, that's yeah.
Well, that's not bad. I mean, we're supposed to argue. I mean, again, I think that's the best.
No.
Yeah, but I think that's the best thing about our podcast is there's no wrong answer. We jab a lot. I see a lot of the going up the side, and I jab Craig about Guns N' Roses, and he jabs me about Boston. We've got the play Freebird thing is always going to be there, but. Yeah. When the keyboards start in Freebird, and then the piano comes on, you know exactly what that is. You know what song is starting, and you're going to be set for the next 8 minutes of dueling guitars for 80% of the song. And that's yeah. So whether it's Bon Jovi or Prince or Led Zeppelin,
go crazy.
Yeah. There's
I'll throw in just before we got a lot of shit to cover here today. So I made a list, so I'm just going to throw out the list really quick just so it doesn't go to waste. But Roundabout and I've Seen All Good People by Yes. Those intros are good if you don't remember them off the top of your head.
Absolutely. The keyboard and stuff in that is just phenomenal. I mean, it's hard. You know instantaneously what it is.
Exactly. And, of course, Walk This Way by Aerosmith.
Yes.
Class.
Dream On's another good one by them. Yeah.
Bob O'Reilly.
Yeah. Oh, when they use that for a TV show, I mean, everybody, if you've seen TV or heard music in the last 30 years, I mean, you know Bob O'Reilly.
Yeah, and of course, I couldn't do it without a Van Halen, so I went with Running with the Devil.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mike's just touched on a good one though. That actually almost has 2 intros.
Oh yeah.
Money for Nothing. Yeah.
If it's the radio version, obviously starts. I think with they still play the intro and the actual long intro in the radio anymore.
Most do, but does everybody here know that Sting was the guy doing the backup vocals?
I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
Hard to miss that voice, really.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Was that the end of your list? I didn't mean to talk about it.
I had Carry On My Wayward Son. I love harmonies. It's a big thing for me in music. And so for them to just start off the song with that really powerful harmony of the lyric was kick-ass. And,
right.
Joy to the World.
Yeah. Hotel California always comes to my mind, like as far as like
as a bullfrog. Come on, when you hear that, you know what song.
I was trying to avoid it. I didn't really want to stand on it.
So I know we're getting close to like our first 10 minutes already, but man, there's songs that on the radio that they miss the intro and they never play it. Like very rarely do you hear the original American Woman with the acoustic intro, and that acoustic intro makes that song. I mean, it totally turns that song into a different feel.
Yep,
totally.
Yeah, okay, so now I'm all out. So next topic, you guys are going to have to carry it because that was all I got.
Right.
But our next topic, anyways, we were going to segue in. It was going to be really nice because we were going to go in right from intros to your favorite part of a song. And I'll let you guys define how you talked about it in that particular episode.
You want to take it or you want me to?
No, well, I was just going to say that is 100% feel for me. Like if a guitar solo hits you or if lyrics hit you or if just a break in a song hits you, that there was literally no rules to that podcast. It was just anything that stuck out to you, just even if it was just a note that one of the singers hit, it was all about, that was 100% about feel.
Yeah, and I think through that I gravitated towards guitar because of playing guitar.
Right.
That those kind of things sucked up to me was, hey, this is I'm going to take this part out. This is guitar. I'm going to take this part out. This is guitar. And those kind of things hit me more. I did have a couple that weren't, but it was more that for me. But weird time signatures always stood out to me too. And I might have mentioned in that if I didn't, I wish I would have.
No, we did. We brought up like Tool.
Yeah, and the Toadies, the end of the Toadies song where that's so off. Yeah, Misty's jumping in. Yeah, the end of the Toadies song, that stuff like that intrigues me. Stuff where they can go off the beat and come back on the beat and off the beat and come back on the beat. And they're such a tight team of musicians that they can follow each other with that. And that's kind of the stuff that sticks out to me when you talk about favorite parts in songs.
Yeah. Oh, Tom Sawyer, we're dropping the Rush already, Mark. I had that queued up for a little bit later because
I'm trying to look at the schedule and see which one that would fit. No, don't say live recording. Oh God.
I was going to use that under bands you've never heard of.
Rush.
Oh, ouch.
Rush.
Wow.
Wow.
I couldn't think of another one. I don't know.
You've never heard of. Not everybody else.
Yeah, I'm new to it.
They're Canadian. Most people haven't heard of them.
So I think that
parts. We aren't getting into parts. At least in the chat, everyone's kind of going off topic here. People, stay with parts with us. Violin.
Yeah, I think and I think George actually mentioned something really good too. Is sometimes the stop is important. Sometimes where they stop the music or stop playing actually sticks out to me as well. I think I even mentioned this at one point in time on the podcast. There's a drum fill in Red by Chevelle that where it's just a slight drum fill that's completely different than any other spot in the song in that part of the measure, and it gets me every single time I hear it. It's like, oh, that drum beat's coming, there it is, and that part always sticks out to me too. So there's a double kick part in like Long Way From Home by Foreigner, like right in the beginning. It's like, it was my destiny, it's what I needed to do, I'm telling you, there's like a double kick in that I can't miss. And it's like the only one in the entire song. Random things like that just stick out for some reason. And that's why there was really no rules in that podcast. It was anything that stuck out to you and everybody hears. That's the best thing about music is everybody hears it differently. Yeah. It means something else. It sounds like something else. It touches a different part of everybody. And that's why we do this podcast. That's why we do these live deals, because to get people in, and people are so passionate about it. People are so into it that just reading, I'm trying to do this and I'm multitasking. It's not my bag, but I mean, trying to read, and I wouldn't even begin to start to type because you guys, I would forget about you guys. So, but there's level.
Okay.
But to tag off that, I want to tag off that really quick because a little insight to the podcast is he's right. There's episodes where there was one we did 4 or 5 episodes ago where I didn't even tell him what it was. He had no idea what the subject was going to be. We just showed up and I surprised him with the subject. And, we used to do that all the time. We'd call each other and talk about something we just heard on the radio or something. But some of ours are really, I don't want to say scripted, but we go do a lot of research on what we're listening to. It's not that we don't know the music. We know most of the music. It's just kind of putting it together so we see it. Yeah. And that episode was a really fun episode because it was just totally what part of a song sticks out to you at any point in time. The little part in Detroit Rock City in the middle where you can hear the car moving and driving and going gears. It's like just that part, and then bam, the song comes back in. That little part always stuck out to me. So
there's always a good bridge in a song can make or break a tune. I think a lot of times, right? Because it's that slight change that takes you away, but it emphasizes and it normally is a real good crescendo or a really nice mellowing and a transition, and then it wraps up, at the end. But I always listen for a really interesting bridge when I'm listening to music, and I always love listening to the different parts too. I'm just like you guys. I could not for the life of me come up with any particular part. I probably lean more towards what you were saying, Craig, where I always pick up the guitar part first. I'm a groove guy. I love a really good hook and a good groove. But a lot of times it's the bass and the drums that set up that groove. And I could care less when the guitar comes in, or it could be a keyboard that comes in, or the singer could come in. But if the bass player and the drummer kick it off and they've got a groove and they are just killing it, then I'm dialed into just that, and let's go.
That's what it's all about. I don't think we mentioned it on the podcast because it was a while ago, but the part in I think it's 502 by Megadeth where like in the bridge of the song he like switches to like that song is playing on the radio in his car when he gets when the cops try to pull him over, and then when he wrecks the car it goes back like to the actual song. It's just a really neat switch in the song that it always threw me off. I mean, it's really cool, a really cool way to, because he was talking about it's 502 was like for a speeding ticket or whatever.
Yeah, 502 violation.
Yeah, and he was driving really fast, and then it switches to like you hear the sirens in the background, and that song is playing on the radio in his car. So it just switches. I don't know, parameters, I guess. I don't know how you'd even put that into words, but
that's interesting because I think you just gave me an idea for one of our next podcasts. We're going to actually do key changes in songs.
I was watching a YouTube video on songs that do the most key changes or something like that, and I think there is it's either a Tool song or somebody else. There's like 42 key changes.
I would bet money it's a Tool song or something Maynard's got his hand in. Yes.
Well, he was trying to, like, that was the goal. It's like, how many times can we change keys and still have a
meter or key?
Oh. No, key, little key.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up because I was thinking, kind of, is it Hotel California that changes key at the end, that moves up a key or down a key?
He also does a thing on time codes too, time signatures and
yeah. Well, Tool's like the master of time signatures, so
do it all. Yeah, it's crazy, but I'm a big fan of the groove. If any song sets up a good groove, I'll tell you, I listen to there's a lot of really good metal out right now, a lot of good new metal, but I am not a big fan of the screaming vocal metals. I lean way more towards the female singer stuff right now, the metal bands that have a female lead voice.
All right, then I gotta go. I gotta get off this.
No, I think it's because for some reason it's just a little bit more melodic. If it's a guy that's singing and not just yelling, I'm okay with that. And it doesn't bug me so much. But you get a good hook. Like I heard one today I'd never heard before, never heard the band before, and they were killing it. But then as soon as the guy came in just screaming, I'm like, God damn it!
I got it. You can't. I'll bite. What was it?
I don't remember.
That's how. But that's what happens with music like that. Is you don't remember because it doesn't stick with you, and I'll
find it right now because I remember what playlist it was. At least I think I do. Carry on. I'll find it.
My top three guesses are Pantera, Lamb of God, and/or.
He said newer. Didn't you say newer stuff?
Yeah, it was new. It was. I know all the classics.
As I Lay Dying or something like that.
It was like Imminence. I think the band was called Imminence.
Don't say Imminent Front. Isn't that a band? That was a band from the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Pete's still in the room. Pete can verify that one probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll find it at some point.
But see, that's where Craig and I like to differ. I mean, if I don't necessarily have to understand I've always been towards the heavier side than Craig. So like if Craig's version of heavy metal is a lot softer than my version of heavy metals. I mean, but it's all a feel thing. It's all in the power, and you can listen to Pantera or Lamb of God and get that driving rhythm, and you can kind of block out the I'm going to say vocal performance, because guys like Phil Anselmo and Randy Blythe of Lamb of God, I mean, there's a limit to that stuff. And I mean, it's definitely, you really have to be into it. But the part that's disappointing to me is the music is there's so much feel in the music and the drums and the guitar and that driving, like you say, that driving galloping rhythm where it's just, it sucks you in, and then you're like, man, that guy doesn't have to be that, doesn't have to do it like that, but
bring it down just a little. Just bring
exactly.
it down.
And it's like I don't speak German, but I love to listen to a little every now and then.
Yeah, I think that again, we could go off on a total tangent on this, but I think there's a lot of, like George said, there's a lot of really good music out there. There's a lot of really good driving music. But if you look at like the 90s with hair metal bands, I'm sure that the people that were, loving the 60s and 70s stuff were going, man, these guys singing falsetto is just, that's horrible. It sounds just driving me crazy. Huh?
Unless you were a fan of the Bee Gees.
Well, so was it a natural transition then from disco into?
I think the tight pants and the falsetto.
Well, glam. So they kind of mixed glam and disco. Is that what we're saying? That hair metal was spawned from glam and disco having a baby?
Oh, we're going down that road. I'm not doing that. I'm not playing on that. That's another part.
Because we can skip the next section. I'm fine with skipping live recordings. We can talk about glam and disco crossing to be hair metal.
That's right, and just like and skip the parts. So are we good with parts? Everybody.
Yeah.
We're all good with the parts. Everybody has their own favorite. I was gonna drop a kind of and we don't have like an instrument. We weren't gonna do an instrument section, but I thought I'd drop this in here. Just a quick story about a bass player. Do you guys know who Tal Wilkenfeld is?
Yeah, let's see if my wife chimes in. She'll chime in like 3,
So
2, 1.
I saw her on. I was watching a Jeff Beck concert video on TV, and there was this like 14-year-old on the bass, and I'm like, who is this? Why does Jeff Beck have to go to the high school to get this little kid to play bass? And then I listened to the concert, and I'm like, oh man, what the hell? And she was unbelievable. And so I was hooked from that point on. And now she sings, and so now her latest album isn't just her bass stuff, but she sings. It's like a cross between Janis Joplin meets Stu Ham.
Wow.
Interesting.
Oh, and,
yeah.
And by the way, she's probably better than Flea anyway, Mike, so I don't know what to tell you.
Now you can't let him on video. Actually, you know what? Do you want to open it up if people want to come in and talk? I mean,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Unless it's Mike, we don't have to let him in and talk.
The only other thing I was going to say was I love a good fretless bass. I can pick that out of a song anywhere, and if somebody's playing it well, it's beautiful.
See, I love I do like ska, and that uses a lot of fretless, even stand-up bass, and even like Stray Cats and stuff like that. I do love a good fretless bass. I'm down. I'm all about that too. So
there was a guitar player that used to played with Ozzy for a while, I think. Or no, or he played with Whitesnake or something like that. I don't know. He went solo, and he had a solo band called Blue Murder. Can't even think of the guy's name.
So familiar.
But they had one or two great songs, and the bass player that he had to play with him played an electric fretless bass, and it just added like 100
name sounds so familiar.
Oh yeah, the depth.
Carmine and Peace? No, that's drummer.
I forget his name, but I'm taking this off on a tangent, so I don't want us to run out of time, but just wanted to drop that in there.
Go to live albums. Craig wants to talk about live albums.
Okay, I can sum it up really quick. You ready? Live albums suck. We're done.
See, this is how we get time back, right? We pick.
Yeah.
So if it's that easy, why did that episode get so many? Why did it reach so high in the conversation? I'd be curious to know.
When we talked about live albums, we talked about the fact that I don't think Craig or I either one are much of a fan of live recordings, because I think it's a little bit of a sham, because it's recorded live and then you take it back to the studio and polish it up and fill in, so it's not as bad. And let's be honest, I mean, the recording capabilities in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, even the 80s were not. I mean, we live in a digital age where auto tune is way too prevalent and so on and so forth. So there's like a level of, I don't know, feeling cheated. And I think if you want to hear live music, go to the damn show. That was my take on it. I mean, I don't, if I want to hear live music, I want to be part of the crowd. I want to be hoarse. I want my hands to hurt from clapping and things like that.
That was kind of my take on that live album stuff too. And then I think over the years, for me, just growing up, certain songs that were only played on the radio live in the live version. So I just kind of got used to hearing them live.
Don't say Kiss.
I'm not going in.
No, we talked about Cheap Trick the other night. Well, let's use Cheap Trick. I Want You to Want Me is like I was like 40 before I heard the studio version of I Want You to Want Me, and I'd heard the live recording 1,000 times.
Well, we had this discussion the other night that you hadn't actually heard the studio version of Rock and Roll All Night before. I mean, okay. So let me bring Mike into this and say that there are some amazing live recordings. There are some recordings out there that you'll never hear a recording like it ever again. But for the majority, I'm kind of with my brother. I would rather go and see a concert and see that live thing happen and go. And if I missed it, I missed it. I don't want to go listen to that historic recording. And when we talked about doing this live tonight, one of the questions we were going to ask at this point of the people in the room was, has a live recording ever turned you off from a band? And honestly, when Pearl Jam started putting out their 700 different live versions of, hey, we were at the Michigan Stadium on 7/14/2001. That really turned me off to that band because, who's going to go out and buy every single one of those albums to get every single live performance when you could just go see them because they're in every band or every month they're in, your town 3 times. That turned me off to Pearl Jam at that point. I love their early stuff. Their early stuff is great. I would love to see them live, but man,
you were a great heavy rock band.
Yeah.
Live in the end.
Well, I have 2 points to make. Does that mean that we're doing this live that nobody's going to want to listen to us now? Is that turning people off from us?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And then secondly if it's special recordings like Craig's favorite Prince, they did a where Prince
hold on.
It was a George Harrison tribute where
it was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right. So I think I think live recordings of things that don't happen in nature kind of get a pass.
Hold on. So we should have said live albums. Because hold on, because that case in point is what to watch him play that song is different than me. If I put that song on and listen to it audio of that performance, I would hate it. But watching him play and move out in front of those guys and move his hands all over the fretboard, just like the cover of Little Nicky that Foo Fighters and CeeLo did.
Right.
That had I heard it, it wouldn't be near as good as watching them play on a stage that's like 5 feet long and 2 feet out, where they're right up against the crowd, and it's a couple hundred people that were lucky enough to just be standing there when they played this awesome cover of a song.
Right.
I don't think hearing those, I think hearing them is the problem. I think if I'm there in the moment, or like the videos of them live, like the Pink Floyd live videos and stuff are awesome to watch. And I could probably watch those. I should have restricted it to albums and said live albums are where I have the problem, not necessarily live performances.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You don't buy it. Still not buying it.
Well, but if it's, I think George is right though. The one-offs, like the one that comes to my mind, like the one particular video that I will go back to on YouTube often is listening to Hart play a Zeppelin song at, for a
trip. Stairway to Heaven at the that one gala where they honored where they wear they wear the rainbow.
I don't remember what they call it either, but anyways, it was
Robert Plant to tears.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. I mean,
a live version of Stairway to Heaven. Yeah,
but that was a video, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's not on an album as far as I know, so we shouldn't talk about it. You're
Okay,
right.
so live albums. Craig's right. All right.
No.
Next.
I just wanted to drop that in there because I love it, and I think from a historic perspective, as a Rush fan, since I knew they weren't going to be touring ever again, I bought the DVDs that they sold of one of their shows from their last tour just because I wanted to have it, and because I really enjoyed the show, so I wanted a version of it.
Videos.
Yes, not the live album. You bought the DVDs, so you can see it and hear it.
That's right.
Next topic.
Come on, right?
So
I think it's
Moving on. Hi, Lisa.
wait a minute. Does Mike Simmons want to come in on this? Is he fine with text, or is he actually going to jump in? Because
are you going to jump in, Mike? Are you in your studio office?
He said a couple minutes ago he was fine.
texting, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I don't want to speak for him, but it was
Next time, but he can always call me and just yell at me on the phone anyways if he wants to. So.
The version of David Lee Roth, though, which made me cringe. It kind of sort of felt like I was getting a bat in the back of the head right there.
I listened to that for exactly 2 seconds, and that was enough.
that was about a second and a half longer than I got out of it.
Yeah. I have refused to listen to anything of their comeback. I haven't watched any of their stuff. My brother went to the concert with the son Wolfgang on the bass, and I'm like,
Yeah.
It's like it's over. That's in the past. Van Halen is over.
Are you saying that old musicians should move out of the way for the young musicians to start filling the gaps?
In this particular instance, yes.
I don't know. Jason Bonham is pretty much a whore for any band that will have him.
That's
Sorry.
true. Yeah, that's true.
And thank you, Molly. The Kennedy Center honors.
There you go.
That's what it was.
Yeah, what was next? Bands you never heard of. Go and listen to. I'm only gonna put 2 out, and then I want to hear like everybody in the chat put a band that they think nobody ever heard of. The band Hum is an amazing band. They were a band in the early 90s. Right at the end of the kind of grunge changeover era to the, what do they call it? They're calling it post-grunge rock or something like that. Amazing band. You've probably never heard anything but one song that they play on commercials and whatever. The song Stars is the song you've probably heard by them. But everything else they have is actually better than Stars. Stars is a great song. Go listen to it. The other one's Imperial Drag, which is one that a friend of mine lent me a cassette to. Wait, I'm not going to show my age. Way long ago when I was a kid, and I loved the album. And it's they made one album. It was a kind of a rocky put together. The brand broke up and they kind of went their separate ways. But it's an amazing dance through kind of eclectic rock, a little bit of that glam that we talked about earlier, some disco background. But those are the 2 bands that I'm going to say that if you haven't heard of them, go out and listen to them. They're amazing.
Yeah. My 2, I guess we're doing 2 is Audio Vent. Is one of my. I think they only have a couple albums. 2, they might have a third that I've never even heard of. The Energy is a great song by Audio Vent. Should definitely check that out. And they've been around for 25 years now. A little bit different lineup here and there, but everybody skips one of my favorite bands. They're more towards the punk side. Is Authority Zero. And Jason DeVore, the lead singer, he's got some solo work. It's just super talented guy, a lot of great music. And those are my 2 go-to that most people have never heard of. But all right, so Foo Fighters. Yeah, I've never heard of them. I don't know.
Does anybody know if there is a history of your songs that you've listened to on Spotify? Because that's where unknown bands are, and I can't find it.
I don't think so. So we have. Had we started the Spotify list at that point yet? I don't know if we. No, I know we did because we talked about the local band we saw in Florida, Lie, that was really good that we saw, and I put that stuff up. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that if you go to our Spotify if you go to Spotify and search Music Musing, you'll actually find our podcast, and you'll also find our episode lists from I think 10 or 11 up. And I do have Mike Simmons to thank for that. Thanks for the suggestion. It was awesome. But every episode when we talk about music, I usually try and put the songs in there that we talk about unless they're too obscure to find on Spotify. But I don't think you can find history.
Yeah, it doesn't show up on the playlist, though. I see your Music Musing under podcasts and videos, but I don't see it under playlists.
I think if you scroll down, there's a separate section for playlists.
Is it called something other than Music Musing?
I think I called them episodes, but if you search for Music Musing, the channel, it should find it. Like our channel is actually called Music Musing as well. Let me see if I can find it. I'll send it to you.
There is Musical Musings. There is Musical Musings, Music Musings, and I just have not been able to find you, man.
Maybe we could sue you for copyright infringement. No.
You guys got axed off. They deleted your playlist.
If you just go to episode 32, it should be able to find it.
Yeah. Well, I'll go with some super obscure bands. Oh, unless you found it.
No, I didn't. No, that's fine. I'll see if I can find it. I'll post it later on in your notes if we can from later on.
I like so a long time ago, and this is very different. But and I don't know, maybe some of you guys do know about them, but the Dixie Dregs.
Heard of them?
I have not.
So very much a fusion. 80s. They're a fusion funk kind of. It's hard to explain. You can't really explain it. One of my favorite guitarists played for him, and I've followed his solo career ever since. Steve Morse, as the guitar player for them. But they have fiddles and keyboards, and just it's a very eclectic set of instrumental music that is just, it's like a whole bunch of the best players of all the instruments you can think of, all in one band. And it's
Dixie Drag, you said?
The Dregs, Dregs.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Morse is not an unknown name in the guitar world.
Right. Yeah, but I think for a lot of people, if you're not a player, if you didn't do that kind of thing, then you may not know of them. And let's see. So another good band that I think you guys may know of, but others may not, the band that Billy Sheehan is currently playing in, the Winery Dogs.
Oh, you were telling me, somebody was telling me about them the other day.
Yeah, I love their stuff. And they're, it's these guys that got really famous or popular in other bands are now doing some really fun, cool stuff, either getting back to their roots and just doing straight ahead rock stuff now and just sort of enjoying playing music and playing shows. Or
holy crap, that band is amazing. Mike Portnoy playing drums and Richie Kotzen. Wow, right? That's a pretty, I'm going to have to check them out.
I mean, it's a pretty unbelievable trio there.
Ooh.
It's like, what is it? Chicken Foot, Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony. They play with, a lot of people haven't heard of them. And like you said, there's a lot of these older musicians are, tapping their buddies and they're, just recording, just jamming out and recording. And there's some really great stuff going around. And I guess you'd call it bands you've never heard of, but I mean, they're people you've heard of in bands that they aren't even supposed to be anything. So.
Yeah. The other one I was going to bring up that I just think is a cool story.
No, you only get two. Sorry, I only get two.
No, I have only gotten one. The other one was a throwaway.
What?
First one doesn't count.
Redo. Now, what is it?
I'm inventing my own genre. So the guitar player from Testament.
Oh, Alex Skolnick?
Yeah, went jazz.
Oh, shut your mouth.
What?
I am going to leave this.
And he is unbelievable.
Oh, he is mega.
He was an amazing guitar player anyway.
So this is my story with him. I was a Testament fan, but I was more a Joe Satriani fan, and I know we aren't getting into instrumentals and stuff like that. But Stu Ham played for Joe Satriani. I got really interested in bass stuff by listening to Stu. Stu went on tour and went solo and did his own stuff, and Skolnick became his guitar player on tour. And,
Wow.
But he was still in his very metal mode. So my first introduction was Skolnick doing his very heavy, cool guitar stuff with Stu on tour, and then I just kept following him from that point on, and then all of a sudden he's in a jazz trio.
I'm
What?
going to read the Wikipedia line. It says, Alex Skolnick Trio, a jazz group known for rousing bebop renditions of classic rock and heavy metal tunes.
Yep.
I gotta look this up.
I say now I'm hooked. I get man.
You have to look that one up.
But his guitar work on the ballad, his acoustic guitar work on the song "The Ballad" by Testament is otherworldly.
That song should have gotten much more radio play than it did when it was out.
Well, I think it did get quite a bit, but it's still breathtaking, the guitar work he does on that song.
I think that was probably around Ride the Lightning time, pretty close as well.
91, 92.
Yeah, so it probably got overshadowed by Metallica, unfortunately, because Fade to Black was, every other song on the radio at that point.
91 was Black Album era.
Was it really that early?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we haven't done genres yet. Let's wrap this thing up with some genres.
Tex-Mex. No, that's not right.
It's on there. Tex-Mex is on there.
I saw you put that on there, and I thought, okay.
I didn't put that.
I was reading the list. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Tex-Mex rock?
I found a list of how they sort music under the rock genre in stores where they have to put them into little sections. Adult alternative rock. Just makes me want to throw up at that point. American traditional rock, arena rock, blues rock, British invasion, death metal, black metal. I know those two different things are the same thing. Glam rock, hair metal, hard rock, metal, jam bands, which we just kind of talked about, prog rock, psychedelic. I'm going to skip over the next one because it wasn't in there initially. Rock and roll is a genre. Rock and roll. Rockabilly, roots rock, singer-songwriter, southern rock, surf, and Tex-Mex. The one that was left out, which wasn't on the list that I added because it's just stupid that it's not on there, was punk. And I'm not sure why punk wasn't on there as a genre for rock.
I didn't consider punk to be rock and roll.
Well, I think punk is its own entity, though. I don't think it's a subgenre of rock. I think punk music is punk.
So surf rock you would put that in rock? I mean, that's kind of its own genre too, right? Anthrax
covered, what was that?
Surf punk.
But just stop right there. It doesn't count. But surf rock would be its own genre. But this is what we're considering.
But Tex-Mex fits?
I didn't say it fits.
I've never even heard when I hear Tex-Mex, I think of like a cantina at Sombrero. I mean, I'm not trying to be off-putting, but I mean, like, that rock and roll is not what comes to mind. Sorry.
Misty had a good one. The Refreshments were pretty close to that idea, but that's the only one I could think of. Boss Tones were more ska punk. Well, and I would have actually put punk/ska. I would have, like, where they've got prog rock and art rock or death metal and black metal, I would have went punk ska, as you probably could have lumped everything together, and people that went looking for ska or punk could probably find it in that section anyways.
I will say that punk and or ska have more definition being on that list than Tex-Mex.
True.
Even singer-songwriter. I mean, really, rock.
What is Tex-Mex? Let's just get this right straight out here.
Is there a Wikipedia for Tex-Mex rock?
I got it.
I mean, come on.
I'm on it. You guys keep talking.
No,
are we talking about like Stevie Ray Vaughan?
How about ZZ Top?
Or ZZ Top?
That's like blues rock. Was blues on there? I had to list
it's blues rock is on there.
Okay. See, that's valid. I mean, you just said Stevie Ray Vaughan. Stevie Ray Vaughan is blues rock, and the Black Keys, I fall into like a blues rock category for me.
Okay, I'm gonna read it off. It says
read it verbatim. Read it exactly how it's read.
Tex-Mexican music is various forms of folk and popular music ongoing among the Mexican American population in Central South Texas. That's it. Doesn't say anything about rock. With roots in the late in the 19th century, it became a music genre with a wider audience in the late 20th century.
I don't know where you get your list from, but let's not use that list anymore.
I'm fine with that. So, yes.
Richie Valens doesn't count.
That's
not rock.
Well, but what was rock back then?
Back then, was it?
I mean,
he did the top 25 rock songs of all time, and Craig went clear back to 1953 when Elvis first appeared on TV.
That's where we started.
Right.
Okay. Because he is the king of rock. Right? Okay. There you go.
Did he play Tex-Mex? Or are we just going with La Bamba? The only example we have? Thank you, Mike.
ZZ Top is it. You don't think ZZ Top?
That's Southern rock. That falls in more of Leonard Skinner or blues rock.
38 Special?
Blues. I would say blues rock. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, La Bamba is the closest thing. I mean, well, again, we have to give Mike credit. The closest thing you'll ever get to Tex-Mex rock would be La Bamba.
And so maybe, okay, so let's just give Tex-Mex a break. Maybe there actually is a genre that we've just never heard of. Maybe down in Mexico, there is music that is like traditional Mexican, but they've added a rock and roll spin to it. Like it's a mariachi with some rock and some electric guitars.
I can't.
Next subject. That's a phrase I never would have thought would be heard on anything to do with music, but I'm glad it was at some point. But how about not 311? I'm a blank on their name now. It is that band that does One More Minute. Isn't that the
Authority Zero?
Yeah, wouldn't that be considered like?
That's
not that. No, I'm thinking about something different.
Yeah.
I'll get it in a second. You guys keep talking. I'll get it in a second. I'm gonna find it.
Somebody's getting tuned anyways. I hear that.
Yeah. Sorry, that's me. Sorry. Yeah, no, it's just to me out of all that list, I mean, we obviously picked the one that doesn't belong, but I think there's a lot of genres of rock.
Sublime.
I think they're stoner rock or stoner metal. I mean,
they're also more a little
You score with Snoop Dogg and 311, you're stoner rock. Sorry, that's all there is to it. But
what about we have not brought this up, and we're at the top of the hour, and I have no problem going over a little bit if we needed to, but we would be remiss if we did not talk about stripper rock.
So I think it's like 10 songs, though. I mean, you just kind of rotate girls, you should go all night long.
Sugar on me.
Some sugar on me.
Wait, how do you guys know this? I
know.
Somebody told me to bring it up.
Stories. People tell me stories. I have no idea.
When we were around the campfire singing Kumbaya, that came up, I think.
Can we get a list of 10? I'm not sure. Do they rotate any more than that? There's probably a Nickelback. Yeah, there's
anything by Nickelback.
Yeah, there's probably a Nick. Yeah, Cherry Pie, good one. That's a good one.
Yes.
She wins for the drop of the night. There you go.
I think we said pour some sugar on me, but
we will take no more contestants. Cherry Pie wins. Right.
Yeah, I see another episode coming up.
Oh man.
Top 5 stripper songs. Unskinny Bob.
Girls.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's like the lead off right there. Or Whitesnake. What Whitesnake song is it?
Any Whitesnake.
Slide it in.
It was the Nickelback of the 80s. Really. Let's be honest.
That's got to be written down somewhere, right?
On the podcast. Thank you very much.
God.
I take credit for taking us down into the gutter, and
it's
you brought
it should be a genre though, right? Shouldn't it? I mean,
Tex-Mex is stripper rock should be.
But like I said, I think you could pick songs from like different genres and put hold on, let's see. I don't think you could put British Invasion. Could you do something British Invasion? Okay, this is our test. I'm going to pick 5 off this list of genres, and we're going to pick a song that could be a stripper song. British Invasion.
Brown Sugar. By Rolling Stones.
It's not fast enough. You got to have something moving. You really got me by the Kinks.
Honky Tonk Woman by Rolling Stones.
That's pretty upbeat. Do
Oh, wow,
Man, the
I
Stones
can't
are so
think of it
not.
right off the top of my head. Yeah, Yellow Submarine. Perfect, Mike. Yeah.
Dang it, man. Nailed it. Okay, next one.
All right, next, yeah.
I can't.
Hair metal almost give me. Let's go with punk. Yeah, anything.
Green Day?
Yeah, probably like
Nothing by Green Day.
Welcome to Paradise, or Welcome to, yeah, that'd probably be roots rock,
I don't even know what roots rock is. What is roots?
glam rock.
Glam rock, Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Poison
hey,
Song.
Twisted Sister. How about we're not gonna take it. That's anti-stripper.
Okay, I'm ready. Come on, feel the noise.
There you go.
Winner.
Well, you can't dance to it though. I mean, it doesn't have
Yes,
that.
it does.
Doesn't have that groove.
Quiet ride.
I will.
Last one. Southern rock. Is there a Southern rock song that?
This is way too hard for me to
yeah.
Give me 3 steps.
There's got to be one, but I just.
What's your name?
Wow.
Little girl, what's your name? Come on.
Oh, you know what it is? It's a 38 special song.
Yeah, it's got to be a 38
I'm
special.
say Flirting with Disaster by Molly Hatchet.
There we
Oh, okay. I'm down with that. I'm down with that.
Hatchet. Okay, so here's the Molly Hatchet. The best song if you're a brand new, the best album if you're a brand new guitar player to jam along to, because they're the easiest. They got the best grooves. They got the easiest chord changes, and you could just solo over the whole song and just play the album front to back, every song, 3 chords, and killing it.
I don't play guitar, so this is difficult for me.
Green Day. Green Day. Pick an album. Green Day.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Okay.
It's seriously. I'm a Green Day fan. I like them before they had Dookie out. They had independent release. They had 2 independent releases together on a cassette. Then they had Kerplunk, which was just before Dookie. I love that album. The Kerplunk album is amazing. I love Green Day, but they are the 3-chord masters. If you were going to learn an album front to back,
yeah,
Kerplunk or Dookie, you could probably just sit down and jam out to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those. A lot of 80s bands and early 90s bands, a lot of those, like ZZ Top, AC/DC. There was Angus Craig's Prototype or whatever. Malcolm Young started out, it's AC/DC is a lot of basic chords.
Yeah.
So is ZZ Top. And then Angus and the vocals, took AC/DC where it needed to go. ZZ Top is 3 guys. There was a lot of that formula, I think, going on, but
I think those were, at least for me anyways, those songs were just different enough that there was some weird things happening that I never really could figure out. But Molly Hatchet was blues. So you couldn't go if you knew a good 12-bar blues, and you could.
Good point.
And if you knew the pattern, that's pretty much. And they did it normal tuning. They didn't tune down or anything like that. And said regular tuning. So you could easily pick up your guitar, put that cassette in, and play it cover to cover.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, what else?
You know what? I think we've put a bow on it pretty nicely, haven't we, gentlemen?
Yeah, I think
a ton of fun.
I think we were done at Cherry Pie, weren't we? At that point.
Well,
I don't know. Yellow Submarine's just innuendo enough for me to agree with it. I'm fine with that one actually, quite a bit. So.
That's when we all hit it. Hey, Misty, thanks for dropping in all of the good music stuff, and Molly, thanks for all of the stuff dropping in. Peter, good to see you in here too. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Absolutely.
So Mike, you don't want to come in and just like rant for like 5 minutes? We'll give you 5 minutes and turn our mics off. I'm fine with that if you want to. Just come in and just yell at us.
This face is probably red.
That's fine. That's fine.
Well, however you wrap up your show, Craig, go for it.
Talk to you later, brother.
You didn't have a parting shot, did you?
I do actually have a parting shot. So if you could think of a genre of rock, do you think Tex-Mex would be a genre?
No, that's absolutely not. No, we need to check your references, because wherever you got that list, don't go there again.
Yeah, we usually end with a parting shot. I did not think of putting one together today. We've done this audio for so long that sitting in on video was fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
Absolutely.
But getting that feel to it is it's a lot different than when we record audio.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of a little more static when we record audio, because we know it's something that it's got to be timed right, and we got to kind of end it at a certain point. But I usually do have a parting shot at the end of it where I just kind of throw something totally wild at him. And here's a band you never heard of. Is that parting shot enough for you? You've seen that band once or twice, right?
Yeah, Misty nailed it. I guess the Stripper Songs was my parting shot. So
yeah, there you go. It's name Stripper Songs. But yeah, we're on. I try to keep the Twitter active. George really does a great job with the Instagram account.
It's awesome, by the way. You guys have to follow the Instagram account. It's like, I can't say enough good things about those memes you drop in there. It just makes me smile.
Yeah, but you can, we're at musicmusing_ on Twitter, where you just search Music Musing on pretty much anything. I was kind of surprised that Music Musing wasn't taken on a lot of things. Music Musings with an S kind of is, but Music Musing is not. There's a lot of it out there. So if you just search for it on any of the podcast platforms, look for George or Craig Seibert on Facebook or Twitter or anything, you can find us on that stuff too.
Seibert with a Y, not S-I-E. It's S-Y.
Correct. Yes. Oh, and we're going to be on cotranquility.org next week, talking about a couple things as well. So we'll be on with Pete Pardo next week too.
Yes. So we got a lot of, you'll be seeing unfortunately, you'll probably be seeing these faces more than you want to, and instead of just hearing the voices. So it's good for us. It's good for Pete, good for you, Brent, and hopefully this all works out. Hopefully everybody had a good time. I had a blast. This has been super cool.
Yeah. And send us email, musicmusingfeedback@gmail.com. Send us whatever you want. Talk to us about music. That's all we really want to do.
Absolutely. Except Mike. I don't care about Flea. Flea's a great bass player, but there's a lot better ones out there.
Feedback@gmail.com. There we go. Yes, we didn't even get to the heavy metal cellist, so I'll talk about her next time. We have to do this again. This was a ton of fun. I appreciate you guys hanging out.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Sounds good to me.
Awesome. I'll get you guys the download. You can throw it up as a podcast. But
thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks, Brent.
Once again, man. Tons of fun.
Thanks, Brent. Yep.
Have a good evening. We will see you guys all next time.
Yep. Absolutely.
We want to talk to you about music, so reach out to us at musicmusingfeedback@gmail.com.
You can also find us on most social media sites by searching Music Musing or George or Craig Seibert, Sybert.
And you can also find us on Twitter as musicmusing_ as well.
Thank you for listening to this Music Musing podcast.